From KATU News, this is breaking news.
That breaking news tonight, Wilsonville High School will be closed tomorrow. In the last hour, the Westland Wilsonville School District announced it found a handwritten message in a boys' bathroom stall that it says threatened student safety. That district says the message mentioned tomorrow's date, October 29th specifically, and, quote, referenced use of a weapon at the high school. Local police do not have reason to believe the threat is credible, according to the district, but they believe more time would help them ensure student safety and investigate who wrote it. And this closure only affects Wilsonville High. All other schools will have a normal day. The district is asking any student with information to contact their school's office first thing tomorrow morning. Thanks for joining us tonight for KATU News at 11. I'm Barry Mangold. We got a lot to talk about, folks, and we have a lot of stories that we've been following all day today. In 1 week, voters are set to decide on a parks levy that would raise more than $400 million in Portland, and why the mayor, Keith Wilson, says this is a necessity for the future of community parks. Plus, the future of SNAP benefits remains in limbo tonight amid that government shutdown. What multiple states are now doing to help those in need. Plus, Portlanders raised in Jamaica tell us what it's like connecting with their family on the island right now after that Category 5 hurricane made landfall earlier today. First, though, we have to get to the big news out of court. Judges for the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals have agreed to reconsider an earlier ruling that would have allowed troops to be deployed to Portland. A panel of 11 judges will now hear that argument, which means the pause on that National Guard deployment will stay in effect. Oregon State Attorney General Dan Rayfield putting out a statement on X today saying, quote, the truth matters. The courts are working to hold this administration accountable. And we're also hearing from Portland Mayor Keith Wilson tonight about the announcement.
We have said all along that the number of federal troops that we need in Portland is 0. And with the Ninth Circuit Court agreeing today for this reconsideration and putting a stay on the other 3-court judge is just one more important note to the nation that we're doing everything right.
You'll remember this legal battle started almost a month ago when President Trump announced the deployment of the National Guard from Oregon into Portland, saying the deployment was necessary to protect federal officers and the ICE building in South Portland. On the other hand, the city of Portland and the state of Oregon have been arguing the deployment is unnecessary and unlawful. A few weeks ago, a federal judge sided with the city of Portland and the state of Oregon, ruling that there must be a temporary restraining order, also known as a pause, on that deployment of the Guard while the entire lawsuit plays out. The administration appealed that ruling from the Ninth Circuit, and eventually the Ninth Circuit sided with President Trump. That ruling determined the president could deploy the Guard during the lawsuit, but again, today's decision to reconsider that ruling effectively pauses the deployment. Lewis and Clark Law Professor Tung Yin told us what it means to have the Ninth Circuit judges have a reconsideration with this larger panel of judges of that initial decision. This review, by the way, is technically called an en banc review. Listen.
The only reason you would have the en banc, so you're calling upon 11 judges to take the time to review the work of 3 of their colleagues. And that investment of time and resources is only worth it if the case is of enough significance.
And again, today's decision means the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals will reconsider whether the president has the authority to deploy the Guard during the lawsuit. By the way, that lawsuit goes to trial tomorrow. Stick with KATU News as we follow the developing story. As that trial gets started tomorrow, it's scheduled to go through Friday. Again, Oregon argues that the deployment is unlawful and unnecessary. The president says he can send the troops when it's needed to enforce the law. New tonight at 11, Portland Mayor Keith Wilson is speaking with us, answering to critics of a parks levy that voters are going to decide on in 1 week. If that levy passes, it would raise more than $400 million to maintain city parks. KATU's Victor Park joins us live at Grant Park in Northeast Portland after speaking with the mayor one-on-one. Victor, what can you tell us?
Hey, good evening, Barry. Yeah, and some fear places like Grant Park here would not be kept cleaned or maintained if this levy does not pass. But critics say they simply cannot afford to pay more money like this.
I moved here right before COVID hit, and this park has been my way to socialize and meet people and enjoy nature.
Linda Birch is a frequent visitor of Grant Park.
It pretty much saved my life during COVID.
She voted yes on the $400 million parks levy, something Portland Mayor Keith Wilson is trying to convince others to do as he door-knocked Tuesday night.
This is the time that we really need to rely on our parks more than ever, especially for the communities that have low income or are vulnerable.
The levy will cost homeowners $1.40 per $1,000 of their property value. For example, if you've got a home worth $524,000, you'll be paying $733 a year for the next 5 years.
Some may say, hey, it is not enough money to deal with the maintenance backlog. Others may say that it's just too expensive.
I mean, I know that it's a difficult time, but we have to value the parks, and this is the time to really make sure that that value, that asset, is really high-performing and well-maintained.
The city of Portland says the levy will keep parks maintained and cleaned and repair or renovate playgrounds, restrooms, and pools. But a recent audit found the Parks Bureau spent money to open new parks and failed to address maintenance issues at its existing parks. The report says the backlog is so large, some assets will fail regardless of how much funding parks raises in the next 10 years. Another reason some voters are casting doubt.
What do you tell those voters?
Well, that was really an audit based on previous years. I've been going through the city, really creating an efficient, high-performing, high-standards organization.
Back at Grant Park, Birch hopes changes will be made.
I think it could be maintained better. I think sometimes they don't empty the trash in a timely fashion.
Well, mark your calendars. Voters will decide next week on Tuesday, November 4th. We're live here at Grant Park. I'm Victor Park, KATU News.
All right, we'll see what happens, Victor. Thank you. Big news here and new information for you. Oregon and Washington are joining a coalition of Democratic-led states in suing the Trump administration over SNAP benefits. Those benefits are set to run out on Saturday amid the government shutdown, impacting more than 40 million Americans. Democratic attorneys general and governors from 25 states, plus Washington, D.C., are a part of this new case. They claim the Trump administration is unlawfully suspending SNAP during the shutdown, and they argue the USDA has the ability to fund the program through contingency funds, pointing to other programs that it has chosen to keep running by using emergency funding. Oregon Attorney General Dan Rayfield says refusing to keep SNAP running is, quote, both illegal and deeply cruel. However, the USDA says those contingency funds are, quote, only available when SNAP funds have been approved by Congress. And as we've reported, 1 in 6 Oregonians rely on SNAP for help paying for food. That's higher than most states across the U.S. Despite a higher minimum wage here, a lot of people want to know why that is the case in Oregon. KATU's Vasily Varlamos reports.
A decade ago, Oregon had one of the worst food insecurity rates in the nation. According to former Oregon State University professor Stephanie Grutzmacher, that embarrassment prompted major reforms to simplify SNAP applications and expand outreach.
Oregon has actually just been really successful in making sure that eligible people know about the program and can sign up for the program.
The state expanded federal waivers in high unemployment areas to loosen work requirements and authorized more retailers, such as farmers markets and farm stands, to accept SNAP benefits. State agencies also developed programs to train food banks and other nonprofits to help people apply and find programs that they're eligible for.
That's why we have a participation rate, they call it, of almost 100%. Those who are eligible are getting access to it.
But Dr. Mark Edwards, a professor at OSU with a focus on food security, poverty, and inequality, also acknowledged that over the years, the rising cost of food and living is contributing to the rise in food insecurity.
We know, for example, that when housing prices keep going up, that people are having a hard time making ends meet.
Oregon also has a high unemployment rate, 5% in 2025, 0.8% higher than the national average. University of Oregon economics professor Michael Kuhn says that percentage percentage, along with a large share of Oregonians working in minimum wage seasonal work, adds to the high participation in SNAP.
The confluence of those two factors really means that we're going to have a lot of SNAP eligible individuals in Oregon.
And some states are choosing to fund the program themselves so individuals do not lose access on November 1st. Earlier tonight, I spoke with Bahram Adrangi, an economics professor at the University of Portland. He told me that if Oregon chose to pay for SNAP itself, that money would have to be cut from another part of the state budget.
If the state wants to actually keep the folks on the program, it's going to cost close to $50 million probably. And that's 10%. That's going to add 10% more to the budget deficit within the state at the very least.
Dr. Adrangi said that if Oregon moved money around to pay for SNAP benefits during the government shutdown, it would only strain the state's current budget problems. And as you can imagine, he said that any money spent on SNAP would have to be pulled from somewhere else. Our team has been asking the governors of both Oregon and Washington for details on what they're doing to help folks in need as well as families and all of those individuals who are facing the loss of SNAP benefits starting November 1st. We've been asking. We'll let you know as soon as we learn more.